iDEX. We will now move on to an engaging session on iDEX, the catalyst for the defense startup ecosystem, covering DISC, open challenges, sprint, grant structure, and milestone-based funding and evaluation mechanisms. This interactive question and answer session with the audience will be led by Mr. Vivek Virmani, Deputy Director General, iDEX and COO, DIO, an officer of the 2002 batch of the Indian Ordnance Factory Services. He is the Deputy Director General in the Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, and concurrently serves as Chief Operating Officer for the Defense Innovation Organization, driving the iDEX initiative. May I now request Mr. Vivek Virmani to address the audience.
Within 20 years, we did.
Good morning, everyone.
मालिक को यहाँ बुला देंगे. मालिक को.
Thank you to the organizers for giving us this opportunity.
Request, please don't have virtual communication. Thank you.
Just going through the title and this themes define defense procurement. iDEX does not identify itself as a procurement avenue, but as the lead and an enabler for the services to have easier methods of procurement. The basic purpose of iDEX stays as R&D with the innovators to enable the military to get the equipment that they are looking for. When we started off in 2018, as per DPIT, there were only about 64 registered defense startups, defense and security startups. Now that number is close to 2,600. It is still a very small number, but we have made an effort to sensitize the ecosystem. And not just startups, but MSMEs have also participated in a big way to support iDEX in the cause that it is established for. iDEX is more like a facilitator. The decisions are not made by iDEX. We leave the decision making with the services. The idea is that services are the ones who are the ones for whom iDEX is there. So all the decisions, the problem statements, the selection of the winners, the decision of the milestones, and the final delivery, the testing, trial process, everything has to be governed by the military itself. However, as I recently had a discussion with one of the services, what they were happy was that the financial part was not coming to the military for decision making. So that is where we chip in and help them to make decisions for the technical requirements that they are looking for. We don't want the military to get into all that, which actually stucks up the cases. The funding, as most of you will, I believe everybody here is well conversant with iDEX. I don't know what I'll tell you in a 1 hour lecture. But the funding is in 2 slabs. One is the 1.5 CR slab, and the other is the 25 CR slab. The 1.5 CR slab again has 2 avenues. One is the launch of challenges by the services, and the other is the open challenge, the COO category. The 1.5 CR, for the 1.5 CR, we have close to 700 CR of funding available with iDEX through various means, almost 750 CR. And for the 25 CR, again, we had a funding revenue of about 750 CR. Both the schemes matured and ended in March 2026, but we have the approval of the Ministry of Finance to continue the schemes by running more challenges. Now we are looking at a substantial more sum to come in. Probably sometime this year, the schemes should be formally renewed and regularized in 2030-31. Coming back to the actual funding, the funding is being done in 6 milestones. So once the services have made a decision that who is the winner out of the applicants who have appeared for the high-powered selection committee meeting, we go through a process of specs compliance. This again is a different process than what is done for a routine procurement. And once this procedure is over, then we sign the legal contract. As I said, the financial part is and the military are kept separate. So we do the legal contracting part. That is where we decide what the work breakdown structure will be, what will be the exact components of that have to be achieved, the outcomes that have to be there. Now I'm using the word outcomes. We are moving away from the terminology of deliverables. In the recent past, there have been instances, not with iDEX, but with DDO, where the applicants, the winners, have been asked to pay a GST. So we want to change that mode of deliverable, because we are actually only looking for a minimal number of sets which we used to call deliverables, and that is also only to test and to certify what has been made. This is a grant, this is not a procurement process. So again, I come back to the same thing. Even at this stage where we are doing the funding and signing a legal contract, it is not for procurement. There have been instances where the user has intended to take a few more numbers, but we try to restrict that as part of the scope of the legal contract that we are signing. They are free to decide the minimum pilot order quantity, which can be as high as they want. But we try to restrict this portion, which can be construed as a deliverable, so that GST is not made applicable for the winners. Applies also to PDA. Now, in fact, in that chapter that is there and that is going to come, both the schemes have been treated almost equally. Although the intent of both the schemes and the approach of the technology is still a little different for both. In various presentations, we have written about the duration of the contracts. Somewhere, I think my team has also got stuck to this, that contracts are of 18 to 24 months, 12 to 24 months. That is the limit. But there is no such limit. It is just an intention to show that we are trying to get this process done and completed within a short frame of time. We have cases which have a duration of more than 36 months. We have cases which have a duration of 6 months also. So this is just an indicative duration that we have shown here. I already told about the two schemes. The first scheme where we have I told a total sum of about 750 CR, out of which 500 CR has come from the Ministry of Finance as part of the scheme for iDEX. Again, iDEX scheme and scheme for iDEX are generally taken as one, but for our internal purposes, we treat them separately. iDEX scheme is the framework which has all the avenues all the avenues available for funding, not just limiting itself to grants. We have every option available in how we can deal with the innovators, with the services, because we don't know how the situation evolves in the next 15 to 20 years. When we come to the scheme for iDEX, it is a specific scheme which enables us the funding from Ministry of Finance. So the terminology is a little confusing, but they are two very different terms. Aditi, however, is a different scheme from scheme for iDEX and caters to funding of up to 25 CR. Co-creation and co-development, well, these terms were well understood by the fraternity which deals with academia and incubation ecosystem. But we have brought this to the defense also. Now, most R&D schemes, there was a lot of evaluation, feasibility studies, a lot of processes that were taking place before and during the development. But there was no concept of hand-holding and where somebody was faltering while development. And that is where co-creation and co-development come in, which were being, as I said, used elsewhere, but not being applied here in defense. So co-creation and co-development, we try to do once the applicant applies to the stage of selection as a winner, to the stage of signing of the contract, and then we go in a big way doing the 6 milestones that we have to achieve before the contract is closed. Then again, we do not limit ourselves to co-creation and co-development till that stage only. As technologies have matured, we realize that products have to be scaled up, the companies have to be given a chance to become big enterprises. The military also needs the products to be taken up to the next level rather than starting from scratch with a different set of innovators every time. So the co-creation and co-development has now extended its relevance for us post completion of any iDEX design and development contract. DAP, and in that sense the Ministry of Defense as a whole, has also become part of this co-creation and co-development process, because that is how the scaling is being enabled. The matching contribution. Now, it's a game of mathematics. When we started, we said it should be minimum 50% from our side, and that is how it is done generally. So let's keep it at 50%. For the last few years, we have had so many representations from different auras, from different people, saying you increase the grant that you give. Make it 70 like me, or 80, or just make it 100. Why do you want to leave out the good startups or good innovators who don't have money actually? Then again, we have had advisors coming in that you reduce the matching contribution. Why will the government pay so much? After all, you are giving the IPR to the innovator. So both these arguments have made it easy for us to stick to the average. 50% is good enough for us. It keeps the innovator interested. It keeps a stake of the government in it, and it keeps us a little different from unique. There are several factors and experiences in the last few years which makes us feel that 50% should remain the optimal approach. If the innovator has to be supported for the rest of the funding, obviously they need, because 1.5 CR is also not a small amount for anybody. The investors are now available. Investors in the form of private investors, VC funds, financial institutions are coming in a big way. So I think debt, equity, everything, every option is now available to the startups. So if we could keep 50% at the start, 2018, now certainly 50% is good enough to carry this process. Assured procurement. When we started in 2020 with DAP, first intervention in DAP, the phrase used the first time iDEX came into DAP, he said, any project where success has been achieved comes into the DAP procedure. But in our legal contract, and since the services were also not very comfortable at the time that they should be assured procurement, so in our legal contract we used to write, we will strive to get you an order. There was no legal commitment that there will be an order. Then during 21, 22, 23, when we started getting successes, the services also wrapped up a few cases accepted. In fact, in some cases where I had lost a little bit of hope that there would be a procurement, the services stepped forward and actually signed procurement contracts, not just Navy, the other services also. So that brought in a lot of confidence in the ministry itself that yes, we can try and say that there should be assured procurement. So procurement has been assured in DAP and in our process. Now we are writing in our legal contract that this is the FPQ, minimum pilot order quantity. Thanks to the services who are actually giving this, and thanks to that, where scaling and quantity vetting has been exempted for iDEX cases. Of course, now we are also trying to go to the next level by trying to decide what should be the actual order quantity, minimum order quantity, to make it a little practically viable for an innovator to apply. Some innovators have been taken for a ride by, he said you will get an order, confirmed order, but the order values were so less that the matching contribution that he had put in, that was not recovered. And even after that first order got honored by the startup, he has been languishing for the last 2 years without an additional order. So we want to avoid that kind of situation because not unfair, but a bad precedent tends to travel fast amongst the fraternity and gives us bad name. So we don't want to avoid that. We want to avoid that kind of situation. Anybody from incubators? Anyways, even if they were here, I would have said the same thing. We have relied heavily on incubators. Heavily. From the beginning, as soon as we started signing the first legal contracts, we have used the incubators in a big way. the first incubators actually guided us how to do the process, how to do the selection process, how to make the contract. We didn't have this contract template, so that template also came out of incubators with their support, and of course we had the support of Atal Innovation at that time. Then we relied on incubators to navigate the innovators after selection through the formulation of the appraisal report and then through the 6 milestones. Gradually we increased the number of incubators. We started off with 4. We reached up to 28 incubators, private and government-backed incubators. Then we tried to increase our catchment area by going to different states, try to cover different states. Well, the experience has been mixed. Ever since we stabilized, we have realized that we need a little more serious commitment from the incubators. The support that we get from them is there on paper, but we want them to give a little more technical push, and they have to show a little more intent to the whole process, because they are very critical for iDEX, for DIO as a Section 8 company to deliver. So we have earlier we used to do the audit of line items. Everything that was being brought in by the startup for the process, everything was being audited, and it could take 3 to 4 months also for us to do that. It was a very tedious task and almost became unending. It seemed like things would spill over from 2 years to 4 years or 5 years. It was impractical. That is where we brought in the incubators to deliver with a little more purpose, make them responsible for the vetting of the technical part, and then it was easier for us and for the services to deal with the rest. That process has been gradually simplified further, and last year, we launched the finance manual, where we made it officially very clear that the purpose of DIO is not to do the technical and financial vetting of each and every item that the innovator is intending to use. That is where the incubator has to come in to integrate it. But since we had more than 500 cases, we also did an audit of the incubators, and we realized that some of the innovators had not stepped up to our expectations. So we have come down to 21 incubators now. 21 who we hope will deliver more purposefully, in a more timely manner, and sincerely. Going ahead, we still intend to expand further with more incubators. In the next 5 years, hopefully we'll expand to almost 50, given the number of challenges and the variation in the problem statements, the technologies that are being sought now. But we want to maintain the quality. The quality is the most important thing. The credibility of the product that has to be used in the actual situation relies on that, and the credibility of the scheme itself relies on that. iDEX Investor Hub started in 23. We started in 23. It was an experiment for us, because At that time, the orders had started coming in a big way, and there was investor interest. So we said, yes, what we'll do is we'll sign MOUs with SEBI registered VC funds. So they are genuine funds in India, and there is no legal commitment from our side. There is no financial commitment from our side. It is only to acknowledge these funds and connect them with the startups and MSMEs who are our winners. Since then, situations have been such that non-iDEX winners also come to us for so many interactions, and there have been instances where we have connected them to these VC funds. So while our stats show something like 450 CR that has been committed by VC funds for iDEX winners, the actual commitment may be far higher. This is only with the funds with which we are connected. There are several non-SEBI registered funds, several investors, private investors who have shown a lot of interest in the last couple of years, and they are also investing in a big way. One of the Navy iDEX winners has bagged, I think, $7 or $8 million on a 2 days back from one of the investors. Again, this is not a mandatory route for an iDEX winner to bring in money. He's free to have his own meetings outside the iDEX network. There is no such restriction. The process, most of which I've already discussed, problem statements are received, they are launched. There is one thing that we could have placed here is the outreach that we do. During the 45 to 60 days of application window that we have, we do a lot of outreach. This time we had about 59 such sessions. So there were three or four sessions in one day. Now our regular approach till before this outreach session, our regular approach was that we used to take dates from the incubators, and we organized physical or virtual sessions with them on those dates. The dates were based on their comfort, and then we used to request the services. We used to read with them, pursue with them that please come and discuss your problems. The glitch was that we were expecting the same officer, same nodal officer, to be present in almost every session, which was impractical and it simply was not happening. So this time we changed the approach. Now our sessions are more based on problem statements. That this is a session for this problem statement, and the uniformed personnel is coming. He will explain whatever questions are there. He'll answer those questions. Good if you are able to attend. Let's say 50 or 80 people attended. If you didn't attend, we have done the recording. We have put it on a YouTube channel. So a problem statement has been attended to in a focused way for startups to see what are the issues, what are the queries, answers that are there, and they can be then viewed anytime during the application. We also ensured this time that 12 days before the last day, we closed these sessions for the services, for all the outreach sessions, so that the startups have enough time to apply. Because I have been doing this for the last few years, there were a lot of issues every time. So this time we ensured that we closed everything very properly and kept a team round the clock in the last few days to ensure that the submissions take place as smoothly as possible. There were still grievances about not being able to apply. That's why 15 days before the last date, it clearly mentioned on the website, we are not extending the date. Please apply well in advance, not to miss out. In the last 3 hours of the application window, we received six applications per minute. So our system was running good, it was smooth, we were pretty satisfied with how we were able to do it. I hope there was no question coming on this, and I hope that is answered. Shortlisting and selection of winners, again, a lot of views had come from the services that it was becoming impractical for them to shortlist applications for the HPSC. And I agree, it was a tedious task to download, open, or if they have to print thousands of pages and then go through them. It's a very difficult task for an officer who is already doing a lot of other things, and this is just becoming an additional task for him. We have tried to resolve this in a limited way. I can't say it's a foolproof method, but the document that has to have the actual solution has been limited to 1 page, like 250 words, so that the startup knows that this is the most critical document that he is submitting, and his eligibility for the next stage will be based on what he has written here. So he limits it to the quality that he wants to actually show. I hope it has helped, because this time we have had a couple of challenges where the number of applications is 200 and 300 numbers also. Otherwise, it becomes a very difficult task for the services, and we continue to do just the HPSC for 1 year. So once the selection is done, again, we have realized, especially in space cases, that the specs compliance is a very, very tedious and long winding process. It has taken years, 2 years to the specs compliance. It was becoming difficult to even track such cases, because as it is, the number of contracts is so high. Tracking cases where the contracts have not yet been signed was becoming very difficult for the team. So, specifically for space cases, and in general for any case, the nodal agency, although they try their best to give the initial specs on which the selection has to be made and the contracting has to be done, the finalization of specs, we have to take a stand somewhere that what do we practically envisage is possible out of an iDEX design and development contract, where we are still trying to find our way, and the innovator is at a bigger risk than us in the next 3 to 4 years. After all, he is putting in his money, not just his money, he is putting in his career for that contract. So we have to take a stand to decide the limit to which we can stretch the specs compliance. Sometimes, while we say that this is an agile process and we want to quickly do the design and development, stay ahead of the curve, how do we stay ahead of the curve if the compliance process itself takes 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years? So we need to be a little more firm on this part. Once the specs compliance is done, the contracting portion we try to do as fast as possible. Payments we are releasing very, very fast. Takes us just 1 or 2 days maximum. In fact, in a few hours we do that part. There was an issue at Milestone 3 where we are not paying anything, and we have resolved that. We have spread the payments in such a way that there is some payment involved at every stage, and now 70% at least is in the form of advance, so it is much more comfortable for the winner to do his main job. Again, for the testing, the PSQR has to be made. PSQR, well, it's a process that has to be complied with. We try to ensure that the PSQR is simply the same as the specs that have been complied with, the specs that have been decided upon. But there are minor tweaks that have to be made. I understand it's a practical reality. We can't avoid that. And the nodal agency also knows that after all, the main purpose is that after 2 years, the induction should be there. Otherwise, what is the purpose of doing the process? But in the quest of being perfect, sometimes our expectation goes a little beyond the scope of the innovator, and that is where we have to recalibrate our approach and keep our expectation to a limit. After SSCT, the single stage composite trials, as per TAP, within 20 months, 20 weeks, we have to place the order. It is not happening. It is almost 50-55 weeks as an average. We can try to tend it towards 20. I know 20 is very stiff, but we can try to improve. It cannot happen overnight, but the intent is that it should be finite, and some unnecessary delays. I don't want to point out every kind of instances that are happening, but there are some unnecessary delays that we can still avoid. Some technology areas, I think, we far beyond these technology areas now. This is the journey. That should look at only one thing here, that we are also having cases with EFMS now. So, and now EPM also has iDEX featured in it. So it should be easier for some of the cases to be realized when it comes to procurement. Also, there in 22-23, you mentioned specific challenges that were launched, like cyber and space and naval cases that were launched in one going sprint. The expectation from us now, because it's been almost 8 years, so people do expect that everything has been done in a very planned way. They've worked out the technology areas, segregated them, and decided very meticulously what will be our exact approach, launching challenges. I can say that that is not the case. The challenges have been launched based on what has been received in the first few years, and that means that all kinds of technologies have been attempted in parallel. Yes, we tried to ensure that there was no duplication of efforts. Keeping it agile, we used to take a confirmation from the services that they have checked that we are not doing the same thing with DIO. And apart from that, once we received the challenges with the okay from the services, we used to exchange the problem statements amongst all the services with the TPSUs, any stakeholder in the ecosystem, to ensure that there is no duplication. There were some instances where we have to change a little bit of the problem statement or the scope. Keep it a little. But going forward, yes, we are trying to plan a little more meticulously to decide what will be the technologies that we deal with in one go. So, batch of similar challenges from the same technology domain may also come up in the near future. While the ecosystem looks morally, the number looks pretty large. We are focusing more on the three services as of now, to some extent Coast Guard and DRO, but of late we're trying that the GPSUs manage and fund their own cases. Even the recently launched Drishti initiative is specifically for the GPSUs, where we have done the launch part for them, the outreach part for them, the branding part, all queries, everything used to come to us also for Drishti. But they are GPSU challenges, and we have asked the GPSUs to manage and fund them on their own. I think I gave a detailed version of what we are thinking about the incubators. So out of those 21 that I mentioned, 6 are specifically only for military. Again, I mentioned about the incubators, about the investors already. Premji Invest is one of the prominent investors with whom we had signed the MOU in January this year, and they have promised that they will commit 500 CR in the next 5 years. So hopefully something big should come out of this. Some of the numbers and again, all this has evolved over the last few years. How we show the impact. There are so many indicators of impact that are used by the government to show how impactful a certain initiative has been. So one way we have shown is 30 times growth of the ecosystem. That is the number of startups that were there. And another way is how many have got contracts, procurement contracts over 100 CR. One calculation that we had done for the first 50 contracts, our actual outgo of grant was only about 30-35 CR, but the conversion in terms of procurement contracts was almost 2000 CR. So for those particular cases, the investment from the government was about 30 and procurement contracts was 200 CR. We can't say it is a multiplier effect. We can't say that it is a conversion ratio, but we can appreciate that value addition has been done, and something has come back to the ecosystem in such a way that the flow of the economy has been impacted in a big way. We see that figure. Now, of late, we are also trying to tie up with state governments to make this system a little more organized in different states. Almost all states now have their own startup initiatives with different teams and with different, little different intents. I don't think any state has a defense-oriented startup initiative, but wherever we can tie up with them or bring them on board for some specific portion to be attended related to defense, we've been trying in the last year or so. The last point about showcase at international exhibitions. Of late, DDP has tried to provide funding support, not for traveling, not for equipment handling, but in terms of the space. Space is also at a premium in exhibitions. So some kind of support has been offered in the last 1 year, and it is still evolving. We are trying to make it better. Most countries are very conscious about how their smaller companies can be projected on the big stage. Yes, this slide, I'll admit, it's a little different because we added it in the last moment, last evening. Thought while we are delivering lecture, we should ask also for something. So, if you can help us, the services can help us make a uniform policy for accessing their test facilities. Will be helpful. These are not kind of approved recommendations. These are more to explore what better we can do. How we can select challenges which can be not multi-use, but which can have application across the services. As of now, we had a couple of challenges initially in 21, where two services backed a single challenge. The specs were modified to suit both of them, and it took months. To just make that possible. Then one was made the lead, the other was the co-lead. But those cases did not, at least I remember, those cases didn't really fructify. So how we can make the applicability a little more uniform so that there's more incentive and feasibility for the startups to apply. And then in certifications and scaling of their production, there has been some effort and there has been a lot of support. Some things which are informally done are also very helpful. But is there any scope of making a little more organized so that the startups feel that we are trying to actually help them? So that is it from me.
So now you can ask questions one by one. Yeah.
Take risk and meet so that everybody gets.
Yeah. Good morning. I am Major General N.P. Hada. Mr. Virmani, I compliment you for your presentation and the excellent work you are doing with iDEX. Because why I am calling it iDEX? Everyone have been talked about iDEX. Whether you go to DIO, whether you go to marketing, Navy, Air Force, everyone in his presentation includes iDEX. So you are doing a good job. So there are organizations which will do good. I remember TDF was conceived before iDEX. And TDF, I think, has not made a significant contribution in terms of funding till date. I think if you can compare the TDF funding and the iDEX funding, iDEX is much ahead. I don't know the number, but somewhere around 350 CR is TDF funding, and iDEX is about 7,500 CR. I'm not wrong.
We have sanctioned about 1,300 CR till now, and we have given away about 450.
Yeah. So I have certain suggestions that matching contributions, if it can be reduced, if you can have a relook at it, because if there is a startup who the students who just made a startup, it is very difficult for them to get a matching contribution. So if you can reduce it further by seeing their seriousness and at the same time, yes, it should not be misused, but if we can think of reducing matching contribution, it will be very nice. At the same time, if we can increase the funding. Today we have 1.5 CR and 25 CR. So if we can increase the funding, that will also be good. And government can think of, I think in some of the forum, Prime Minister himself said that you do the research and if there is a no outcomes, then forget it. So like banks have NPA, we should think of something like that in the research. You cannot get success every time. So somebody will fail, but that failure also can be some outcome. So we have to think on those lines if we want to make really significant contribution. So that's what my suggestion. Again, I compliment you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'll answer. Yes. Yes, the quantum of funding, we are in the process of doing that, but since it is not yet officially confirmed, so I'll restrict myself to saying that yes, there is an intention of increasing the quantum of funds. Within this year, I hope that such a thing would happen. The other part was about matching contribution. I already answered it. There is no right or wrong in what should be the matching, what should be the percentage of matching contribution. So, in our opinion, this is just okay because we have concerns on both the sides. We are trying to match that. The co-creation, co-development, the support to the investor fraternity, all these are in-kind inputs and contributions that the government is trying to do. So let's add that to the 50% and we can say that we are contributing about 70-80%. And there was one more part, the third part was mentioned the third thing.
Something like NPA.
Yeah, so that we are already doing. There are cases, as per our scheme, 20% is the success rate, is the envisaged success rate. As of now, out of 550 odd cases, we have about 15% which have already converted. 15%. Another about 20% are in the final stage, and about 40% are cases which are progressing. I can't say that they will also be successful, but they are progressing. So we expect that a substantial percent out of them will be successful. So we are looking at a probable success rate of about 50 to 60%, maybe 70%. And there are instances where we have converted failures to success. That is also an achievement which I think we did not show it yet, but that is also an achievement that we have done. But then again, there will be cases, even if I say 70%, there are cases which are failing. And in those cases, the funding is being, we are looking at it in a liberal way and we have done what we have.
Vivek, I have a point regarding Mr. Hada. Vivek, this side. Nice to see you track from the other side of the fence now. So what Mr. Hada was saying is that, but I really feel like, for important deep tech projects, you need to have a TRL based funding model. Like now, I was with you for 3 years, but now this side of the fence, I will tell you, there are a lot of deep tech startups, like what you were thinking about. No startup likes to dilute equity, because otherwise it goes into the hand of the investor. Investor just wants a fund. They just want a return on investment, what is not there. So, but there has to be something where, and I think even the GFR I was told, public funds is getting modified for R&D. So at least for deep tech, which is actually deep tech, we need to have a funding model. In fact, I will send the model to you. I already send the website and CPDP. I don't know if it's come to your table. I'll send it to you also. But if you really want deep tech to germinate, you need to think very innovative. Coming to this question now, I just want to know, you said 51 procurement contracts, 265 crore. It's been 8 years iDEX. How many contracts have fructified into the product being actually handed over to the armed forces?
Okay. The first part, what exactly is intervention for deep tech that you are looking at?
See, when I was in DDG, I did that with the industry, but I didn't have time. So when I opened my notes, I already sent it to the website and CPDP. So basically, the industry suggested that KRL. Now, I'll tell you why. Because see, in DAP 2026, you're already talking of RFI streets with KRL level. One more thing given out there yesterday, see, you getting a lot of number of applications, 2000. In HPS, you said 1 for 1. I would suggest that in the challenge itself, you say that only few starters who have a some KRL level, they come. Because you know, DAP has to get aligned. And unfortunately, with my experience in the last 5 years, the policy is going, oh, nice. But is the policy going to result anything on ground? Big question mark. Right? Why? Because the investment climate is not good in India. You know, we have to learn from countries. In fact, we have given examples of the DARPA model and the other countries. But the other countries can do it. See, the intent of the government is great. DAP 2026, I would love the document. But I don't think it's going to translate into anything concrete on ground till you have the better investment climate, which if you want to support iDEX, you should have a TRL-based innovative funding model and ease of doing business, like these points which are listed. Unless these two happen,
we can definitely make an SOP also on this.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. I mean, what you would be saying is that for such one deep tech case, it should be at a TRL 4 or 5 before we actually start this thing, so that there is more probability of success. It seems a good idea. One issue is how do we judge that year? It will be a little difficult. So we can try that. The more we put things on paper, it becomes a little more organized. We do compromise our agility when we keep putting things on paper, and we made the DAP also in such a way that we kept on adding things. The agility is lost somewhere, but that's a trade-off that we can do. It is certainly an idea that we should explore. Regarding orders, I only know of a few orders that have been honored, but the others are also in the process. So I can't say that if you are asking if there have been failures, I can't.
No, I'm not asking. I'm asking positive good story. I'm not talking about failures.
Okay. I mean,
how many contracts?
Yeah, I don't know the numbers which have actually been delivered, but I think there would hardly be any cases where there are failures. I am not sure if there are any failures. Because
question was not Vivek.
I know, but why I am saying that is because what you asked is important. It is one thing to develop, but setting up a production line to deliver is.
So this is linked to this point because we are not known for manufacturing in this country. Not known for manufacturing. That's the point.
So it is a difficult art, and there also we need to make some intervention. So it is important.
Please, sir. Don't worry, I'll come back to everybody. Just increase so that no education in case you can. Quick one, so that others are.
I'll make responsible. Hello, sir.
Skills. This side, please.
1 second, please. Just, I'll come back to you.
Right, sir.
Just give me a second.
Right, sir. Yeah. Good morning, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know your view within this value chain, sir. Where do you see the angel investors and VCs in the current and the future states? What are the pockets of opportunity of industries? Structured opportunity. Because as I'm looking into it, there are many funding models which are structured and sorted, spiral project models where the payment is happening stage wise. So, where do you see in current and future state of angel investors and VCs?
As I mentioned, we already have tie-ups with both kinds already. Okay, so and once we have a tie-up, we share our database with them based on what kind of technology domains they want to attend to. And a related part where I'll also mention something on what he had said, that the investors are there to make a big part. The path of technology that we should take to scale it up. So that is a positive thing that is happening. Coming back to your question, we try to make it an organized thing from our side, from setting up fund. We explored that kind of option, but the government has already come up with ANRF, RDIF is happening. Then DPIT Fund of Funds version 2 has also come in, and we are being told that they will also enable a lot of funding, and they will use different kinds of tools and instruments. The banks that have signed MOUs with us, they are not here only for the accounts of the startups. They are also trying to bring in investment or act as investors. Some of the almost all the banks now have startup related funds or initiatives by different names. And I feel from 21 to 23, not much was happening through them. But of late, startups have told me that they've actually got money from them. So, and then you must have heard of different programs, media related, some programs have also taken place where startups have raised money from investors. So, since there are so many different models of investment coming in, and we already have tie-ups with the entities that you mentioned, so you'll have to take a call as to how you can do it, given this structure is very competitive now. Earlier, our winners were taking up funds only when they used to get orders. Now they're saying that that the investor is saying that as soon as the HPSC gives a green signal that yes, we are going in with this contract, I'll be able to raise. So you'll have to take a call where you come in from.
Thank you. I would like to first of all understand how did the idea of iDEX for 4G came? Which year? Because I'm not able to relate. Secondly, where is it currently? Has any progress been made in any project being fructified? That's the first. Second is international collaboration, innovation collaboration. Intergovernmental, our agreements. There are a number of innovation collaborations we have signed, including defense innovation collaboration. So, learning from intersects, what are the challenges and which are the potential countries we should look forward to in this domain?
So iDEX for 4G first came in 2019-20, and how we conceived it was that we wanted the 4Gs, the soldiers at the ground level, to suggest what they think from their practical experience can be an intervention to make some process more useful. And putting all this English in one word, we wanted to know the jugaad that they were using and we can make it more organized. We drafted some forms, simple forms for them to fill in and send them to us. When we shared this with the services, they had a very genuine observation that it could lead to chaos, because there were so many formations in different parts of the country, and if everybody starts applying to us directly, then we'll be flooded with applications. Some of them, or most of them, could be duplication of each other or mild duplication, and then it would be difficult for us to process. So they said that let them come through their channel, and that is where we agreed. But when we received the applications from their channel, they were very limited, and none of them actually fructified. Why they didn't fructify? They had to select finally. They were giving the application, but the service itself had to select, and they were not selected for some reason. Possibly how that particular officer or soldier would be, how would he be compensated, whether it will be in monetary terms or in in-kind terms, or whether he'll have to first leave his position or go out of the military. There were some issues which we had no control on. So, hasn't really fructified.
Sir, please.
International.
We'll come to everyone.
International company.
Mr. Vivek, I'm so sorry.
So international, our first international collaboration was with the US, and the second was with France. And as I know, informally, there have been discussions with other countries also. Some of the advanced countries do not even have an organized ecosystem like we have. And only after our deliberations with them, we came to know that they are still forming them. But there have been attempts to do that. The last 2 years, I shouldn't take names of the countries in which this kind of discussion has taken place. Some of these discussions have not taken place by us also, because this has become a very general approach of discussion or collaboration that we have not actually been involved in this to start off with. Of course, when it comes to actually doing an institutional collaboration, we'll come in, but that is when it will happen.
Sir, please. I will request everybody when your turn comes, please ask only one question and only one part, because otherwise everybody will miss and we have some time constraint. Please, Sachin.
Can you throw some light on this project MIRA, Medical Innovation and Research Advancement? I believe it's come up recently. So, how the problem statements or COO proposals can be kind of progress? So, you can throw some light.
There is no separate category of COO proposals for MIRA. It was just that AFMS had given a few challenges which we had taken through the services. They had also come through the services, medical oriented, but launched as part of this.
Okay, will be available at the website, those challenges? Thank you.
Muli sir, just pass the mic, please.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And I have this one suggestion. A lot of work, like you have said, funding is possible from several quarters for a startup. A lot of academia startup connect is happening. And some of the work relating to a problem statement may have already been done by a particular startup in a different context. And when they see this is a problem statement of the events, they can very quickly correlate and say, okay, we have already achieved something like TRL4 hit, and we can quickly customize it to a different stage. So my request would be that if you can create some intervention where these people can be captured and whatever they have spent already on reaching that stage can be taken towards their 50%.
See, most of the cases where people have become successful, and not just iDEX winners, but also gone up to procurement, they have actually been working on either the same problem statement or a similar problem statement. It is not possible for them to start from TRL 1 or 2 and go to TRL 7 or 8 in a few months or 18 months also. So, those types of innovators are already in our loop. Now, second part about their efforts in the previous, prior to getting connected with us. So, we have the concept of fast expenditure. That is also part of the matching contributions. Then we also acknowledge and account for a certain part of the IPR that they have already achieved. So that also they can use. So there are avenues for them to use to monetize what they've spent earlier as part of our contract.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Nasik Sachdeva. As a tech innovator, sir, I appreciate the part that there's a matching contribution. Just to clarify for sir here. So it keeps people invested. You know, when they say put money where your mouth is, it actually keeps the tech innovators listening. My question is very precise, sir. How does iDEX help startups in the initial phases of trials, where it's bench testing and just gathering the data for further refinement of the product?
So when it comes to data, we have struggled in the first few cases where data was required, and my understanding is that the services are generally okay with the innovator using dummy data. Sometimes that is also provided by the services. It takes a little bit of time, but now it is becoming more obvious. And once when you are proving your system on that data and you're gaining some credibility, then at the right moment they're also sharing the actual data to train your system. So that part is being handled.
The lady there, please.
Hello.
The testing part, you said, formally we are acknowledging that there may be iterations of testing required. At each milestone, some kind of tests are being done. There may be failures, so we don't record them as failures. We only record what is a success. So as once the milestone is achieved, that is success is there, then we can forget about the failures. You have learned from the failures. What the services are more interested after that is in that the single stage composite trials is passed very, very clearly by you. There should be no ambiguity about that. And if you are failing there, then as per that we are giving at least 3 chances to you. And the rest is based on practical understanding of how promising the product is.
Lady there, please.
Hello, so I'm running an early stage startup and I'm at the pre-prototype stage. So my question is, what are the meaningful difference for a company at a pre-prototype stage to be evaluated from a company who has already a product lined up? So as of now, are the TRL level carries any weight, and if that is, what TRL level we should target as a pre-prototype stage company who's just building?
See, our selection committees are very clear in this, that they are looking at technically competent and promising product that can be offered. But if you have a product lined up, then it is not for iDEX. It is only this process is only for innovation and something that you have to meet. Okay, so if you are with a pre-prototype stage startup, you are at the right place.
Thanks. Mr. Virmani.
My more questions, and we already have, but based on your interest or with the data that we created, we could create this. So just be quick, and anyone who has already asked yesterday or today, they should skip them.
And since we have ADB and maybe the other services are also represented, if somebody can add to an answer, I think I'm a little late in saying that, but if you can add something, please.
Yeah, Mr. Virmani, I had a question on this. After SSCT, we are getting back into the line for the procurement. You know, again, that whole cycle is, we are going through that. Is there a case in point where the MPQs are treated as deemed contracts? Can that loop be shortened in some way, or can you think about it? I am not very clear about how the procedure would have to be changed, but is there a case in point in that? One. Secondly, although the scheme is very, very popular already, why don't you think of having a Shark Tank kind of an episode only for the iDEX challenge?
The first part, we made an effort last time when DAP was being reviewed, and there is no requirement of SPV or DPV for this process. It should be done on site. I mean, the concerned agency has already tried and tested the item they can simply go for on-file approval. It has not materialized, but I am all for it. That can be done. Any other value addition that is being done after that? So that is something, and I think we have proposed, but it is not being entertained this time. We wanted on-file. And the second part is Shark Tank. See, again, we did something of that sort in one of the DIO India, where we wanted investors to come in and we have this kind of contest. I don't remember which one, but yes, we tried that, and there has to be a lot of exercise done for that. The final show of 1 hour or so will have several months of exercise of pre-negotiations, several layers of negotiations, because the investor has to understand a lot of aspects about that startup and the product. So it involves a lot of exercise, and it culminates into a show kind of thing where we are giving an outcome that yes, he has agreed to this. So we'll have to see how what is the trade-off between the effort that is being put in it, and but yes, it is certainly doable. Can't say no.
Hi sir. Yeah, it's not a question. This is a suggestion. Actually, I think that the iDEX approach should be like the prompt response is required, because why I am telling, in the March I send you around 10 or 20 emails regarding the validation of our company. First time we are registering. Validation of our company. First time registrations, the validation is required with the company number and the LP number. So I sent some multiple emails, 10 to 20 emails, but I didn't get any reply from them. So I called the iDEX number. I didn't get any prompt response from them. They are telling this to reach out, but in the email I didn't get any response from them. So that's what I'm telling. Make it somewhat like the prompt response. I waited 3 months for that. Then how I resolved that, I know one friend, and he is one of the colleagues. I think knows the iDEX one person. And just we told them and resolved like that. So I think 3 months it took for me to resolve that. So the validation issue, I thought that it's from our company sides. I think it's not that. Later I understood that some website issue or something like that. So this is a suggestion. So make it somewhat the support, the email or the call will be prompt response.
If you can give to me something concrete,
I'll
from this discussion here. I'll check, because it might be an outlier case, but we don't want such outliers also.
Yeah, so during the tea break, share that, because the idea is at least the future applicants can be benefited. Okay, the person there, please.
Hi sir, thanks for the good work at iDEX. So we applied for Open Challenge 16. Currently, Open Challenge 19 is running on. Our HPSC evaluation, we got a mail just few days back that we have an HPSC evaluation, and it came after almost 8 months. So there is no way to track that when the HPSC will happen. We have been almost called 2 times for HPSC, but then after that, this thing goes on for like 8-12 months, and we don't know that when's the next thing was going to come. And also there is no budget allocation for Open Challenge. So even if we know that for this certain challenge there is some budget to this that has started to also evaluate that should we work on that or not. So I think so if that would be somewhere improved, that would be helpful for starters.
I agree with you. For Open Challenge 16 and 17, it has been a long way. One of the reasons is that the scheme was in the last year, and there was accumulation of applications at our end which we sent to the services, and it took them also some time. But what you said about no allocation of funding, once we have kept the window open, that means that there is allocation of funding. We have catered for funds for Open Challenge 16, 17, 18. Only after that we have kept the window open.
Okay, the last question of this session, please. Okay, please go ahead.
Sir, I'm Vinkamara Monica retired. My question before HPEC for the screening process. I've been to the user side being project officer for multiple projects of indigenization, and now from this side, I'm guiding few of the startups wherein they are facing issue when it comes to user centricity. So there is no provision to interact with the user. When I say user, it is not ADB or ADB or Air Force Aerospace Design. This is for the line directorate or the user directorate. So if we are currently selected on the basis of the paper which we submit as a proposal. That's the only process for screening. However, something in between before finalizing or before shortlisting can happen that will help. This was raised yesterday also, and I talked to General Man regarding this. So if we can have the project officer's connection in this, or at least the directorate known to us, it would be helpful to understand the requirement first. This is because we are talking about agility too.
Yeah. Again, I would be mentioning agility here also. Your point is well taken. We have had a few representations sitting. We are waiting for the results for HPSC, whether we will be shortlisted. But in the meantime, can we connect with the concerned service or Google to understand their view better? It becomes a little difficult for the user. That is precisely why ADB or DAD is there. That they are the front for the complete service. Otherwise, their utility or their existence is diluted if you are connected directly with them. They have to be in the loop. What I mean is, you can still be connected with them, and the concerned directorate may also be reaching out to you directly if required, if they require. But if we make it an organized way that we tell ADB that case by case basis, we will be sending you requests and you connect the guy through the user directory. For one problem statement alone, they had almost 200 applications. And if 50 of the people say that we want to connect, and once when the information spreads that that is possible, then almost everybody will be going there. It will become very difficult. I don't have an issue, but it will become a never-ending cycle, and I don't know whether they will be able to complete the screening process if we do that.
So at least one session for the startup
session. Now, when you said about you want to understand
the requirement.
That understanding has been given during the outreach.
It was one-way communication that they now.
No, it is not one day. No, it is an interactive. You can ask questions.
In fact, this is also part of that effort also indirectly.
Yes, and one more thing I wanted to tell about outreach. This is for the new applicants who will apply or to help them. Our outreach of 45 days, where I mentioned about a lot of intensity that we showed this time in the first 32 days to reach out to everybody and solve everything. Now we'll do this between launch of challenges also, in a more diluted or less intensive way, so that people are well aware of what the processes are. They need not know the challenges at that time, but they have to be well aware of what the processes are. I've met a few people in some industry association in Madhya Pradesh. They have a very small number of innovators coming from MP as of now. I met them after we had launched the challenges, and they said they are interested. And after 2 or 3 times that I reached out to them, it took almost 10-12 days, and they said, "Oh, now there is so little time. How do we do this?" So that part we have to. That part of the outreach we have to do before launching, and during this 45-day window, we have to do a focused outreach where the people who are aware should be able to do it. That doesn't answer your part, but only the 45-day period, that should be. I think ADB would agree with this.
Which is once we are shortlisting, 2 phases to a shortlisting phase. So once it is done and subject matter experts are doing it and ADB, that time we are not reaching out to the startup who responded, However, once it goes to the line directed, the limited number of people are contacted before their to understand their proposals or before getting it shortlisted for FPS.
Sir,
If you see people who have applied for Amadpur, because now the process is on for Amadpur challenges with the DP and this, they must be getting calls as of late also. Because I know yesterday one of the Amadpur officers spoke to almost 7 startups who are this market. So we are reaching out to people, but getting everybody to speak to the quad officer or the line director will be very difficult because he is also doing the other job. His normal activity is also in progress.
So we'll close at that, and I'll request each one of you to give a good applause to Mr. Virmani for being so candid and supportive. Thank you very much.
I kept it informal and I try to share whatever learnings have come in the last few years. Thank you.